Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the lecture today. I'm Lavender Zheng, Director of Communications and Public Relations. Today we are honored to have Professor Wong Kam-fai, the Associate Dean of Faculty of Engineering, to deliver a lecture on Do You Trust Your Big Data, which forms a part of the CUHK lecture series on national security, the bigger picture. Now, let me briefly introduce Professor Wong. He is the Associate Dean, External Affairs of the Faculty of Engineering, Professor in the Department of Systems Engineering and Engineering Management, Director of Center for Innovation and Technology, and Associate Director of the Center for Entrepreneurship. He is also the Director of Key Laboratory on High Confidence Software Technologies, Ministry of Education. His research interest is on Chinese natural language processing, database, and information retrieval. He has published over 260 technical papers in different international journals, books, and conferences. Now, without further ado, may we welcome Professor Wong to deliver a lecture on Do You Trust Your Big Data? Professor Wong, please.
Hello. Just wish that we could have met together in this room. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19, that we'll have to do the lecture online. So personally, myself have been working in the artificial intelligence area for over 30 years since my PhD. And in the AI area, we study a lot about how to make effective use and efficient use of the big data, in order to achieve the targets. So, in fact, as things go along, as the digital economy is growing in the recent years, the big data issue is getting more serious. And one of the issues is actually on security. So, and I hope in this particular lecture, I can share with everyone about the concerns that is common around the world on this particular topic. My talk will actually divide it into 6 sections. So the talk is based on national security, so I will introduce the general concept about national security. And then I'll talk about my field, which is on information security, and then artificial intelligence, and in particular, the big data and the problems behind that, and the problem of machine learning as well. There may be misconception, especially from the general public, on national security. Every time when we talk about security for the nation, probably we talk about battles, wars, military. Yes, indeed, military security is one of them, but it's not the only one. There are other types of national security, and these types of securities are formally listed in many documents and in many literature. So the first one, military security, we all know about that. It's about starting a war, starting off a battle for some political issues, for examples, and therefore lead to the political security part. For example, whether A's political party will be taken over by B, and therefore during the fights between the two political parties, there may be some security issues involved. Homeland security is about, for example, the sovereignty of a place. Okay, this is regard to homeland security. Many examples happen in the past that because a colony or a piece of land being very remote, and therefore there were some disputes between the owning nation and the nation nearby. They may have a lot of dispute against that. They may start up war. Falkland is a good example, which is between the British and Argentina a long time ago. Economic security happens, for example. We heard a lot about big investors who comes into the market and trying to crash the market, and we come across that very, very often in Hong Kong. As we all know about, we are being the third ranked number 3 in the Global Financial Center Index, and therefore it's always a target for a lot of financial intruders who actually comes in and try to take some advantage of our system. Societal security. These are the. Sometimes we have social problems in different society, and that may cause that affects livings of individuals in our city or in our country. That's societal security. For example, what's happening in Afghanistan is also a good example. Technology security. There are many examples on that one. For example, recently there are some gas pipe being attacked by hackers asking for ransom. That's typical example of technical security, and we have examples of that later. And then environmental security. Some people may come in, some enemies may come in to pollute the air or the water supply of your place, that causing damages to the country. Food security, this is something that is actually, I like it very much. I like to mention that quite a bit because in Hong Kong, we're such a small place and we do not care about food. Well, we don't need to care much about food because, we can buy it quite easily. But I once attended a meeting with the Chinese government, which mentioned about they set a KPI for the amount of crops that they should retain yearly. At that time, when I heard about that, I didn't take any notice. But when you really think about it, okay, if there were no food and there was shortage of food, it would be very chaotic in any society. But the reason that I was so aware of it, because it never strikes me. I don't think it would strike a lot of people in Hong Kong as well. And for that reason, at that time, I was thinking that we definitely need to teach more about national security. And when I said national security, is all these 13 issues. All these issues here. To our secondary schools or primary schools students, and to really let them know, when we are talking about security, we are really talking about, different types. So anyway, there are other, the resource security, again, I mentioned about the Russian case where we have the gas pipe, and it was in America, and it was accused that some Russian hackers actually took over the gas pipe supply, which is affecting many counties. And then nuclear security is also a big thing, and obviously nuclear is a very harmful substance. And if there were any attack in nuclear plants, it will be catastrophic. And then the one that I'm most involved in is information security. And this will actually be the main part or the core of my talk today. So what is it? What is information security? It is actually, it's in a broad sense, information security is actually a set of practices intended to keep secure from unauthorized access of an alteration. And then we talk about their basic components called the CIA, coincidentally. which is the confidentiality. Okay, some of the information that we are sending, which may involve, national level security which is confidential and a national level. Okay, we don't actually just need to talk about at the national level. We need to have the CIA elements. I mean, even just as a corporation or just at the university level, or even as an individual, we would talk about, for example, privacy is a form of data privacy is a form of confidentiality. Okay, surely you do not want your identity to be misused or leaked over the internet. Okay, and then integrity. Integrity here, a good example in integrity that which we will talk about later is on, for example, misinformation and disinformation, fake news. These are examples, and in particular, in recent days, we talk a lot about information integrity a lot. And then availability, I just used the example about, for example, the pipeline that I just talked about. Imagine that the pipe is blocked and you cannot get the gas supply, and surely it would affect daily living. Similarly, what would happen if your bank data was blocked? Okay, and you could not access your bank accounts. That would be very inconvenient. Not just that it is inconvenient, sometimes it would lead you into trouble because you can't even get the money out to pay your bills. So there are many, many cases. These are very recent cases in the fourth quarter of 2021. In Australia, the broadcaster Channel 5 was actually hit by a cyber attack. On March 2021, and when this happened, the channel was unable to air its Sunday news bulletin and several other shows. Okay, I would just imagine that one day that you cannot get any news, okay, from TV or from your broadcaster. Okay, I guess you would not accept that at all. Another example is in March 2021. This is the London-based Harris Federation suffered a ransom attack, and it was forced to temporarily disable the devices and the email system of all 50 secondary and primary academies. And this actually resulted in over 37,000 students being unable to access their coursework and correspondence. Okay. Wow. Maybe, just for a joke, maybe the students like that. No more homework. Maybe. But surely, from an administrative point of view, this is not the right thing to do. And then number 3 happened on the 21st of March 2021. Which is one of the biggest cyber insurance firms in the U.S., CNA Financial. They suffered from another ransom attack, and the cyber attack disrupted the organization's customer-employee services for 3 days. And then, as CNA was forced to shut down to prevent further compromise. Okay. Sorry. The word ransomware actually happened in the last slide as well. Perhaps it may be a little bit unfamiliar to some of our audience. Well, ransomware is also mostly associated with cyber attack. Some hackers actually go into your machine and disrupt, actually blocked it, just like creating a key in there, and then you have to pay some money before they would actually open the key again for you. So that is some kind of ransom. That actually, this sort of ransomware attack cases happen quite often. In fact, just like the number 2 example and number 3 example here, and number 4 example is actually as a cyber criminal attempt. And the cyber criminal try to poison the water supply in Florida. Okay, so you can imagine how serious that would be. And in fact, when you look at all these 4 cases, when you relate back to the security cases, the national security cases that we mentioned. So when we talk about information security, which we will talk about in this talk, it is not alone. It's actually mixed with other factors. Just like number 4 as an example, the poison the water supply. This is a resource attack or resource security, which is also one of the security, which is also one of the national securities that we just mentioned in the first slide. Okay, and this is the one that I mentioned, which is on the gas pipe attack. The federal government issued a rare emergency declaration on Sunday, which is somewhere close to May 10th, 2021, after a cyber attack of a major U.S. pipeline. And because of that, the transportation of oil to the eastern part of the United States was actually choked. Okay, and the Colonial Pipeline, which is the company responsible for the country's largest fuel pipeline, was forced to shut down all its operation after the hackers broke into some of their network, and all of its main lines remain offline. Imagine that in the East Coast, May perhaps the weather is a little bit better, so you could imagine that if it happened in Christmas time, where it is really, really very cold, and the pipeline is blocked, and you do not have enough gas. Well, that's very frightening. Okay, and all these happen because of information security, because these cyber attacker attack their internet systems. So therefore, as you can see from here, information security is actually a big thing. So therefore, it is also included as the lists of national security items. Okay, so information, why is it so important? Why do we need to make sure that our information is secure? It's all about computing. It's all about artificial intelligence. So as we all know, we are, in fact, the whole world is actually getting more and more digital. So you can see, if you look from an economic point of view, the economic growth of big internet companies like Google, Facebook, or for those who actually like games, Roblox, I think. So this is about internet, about mobile games. So you can see that digital companies or internet companies are growing a lot, okay, all over the world. And then for this reason, they are using a lot of different techniques in trying to optimize their operations. Not only this internet companies, but also many conventional companies, be it in the logistic fields, be it in the medical field, be it in the academic fields, because of the advancement in technology, they are adopting a lot of innovation technologies to improve their operations. And as we all know, artificial intelligence is the technology. Well, in fact, I can tell you that back in 30 years ago, I already started working on this AI business, but it was not fun at all. Okay, it was difficult. One of the main reasons is because the technology was not ready. And in the past 10 years, I think we are getting there now. AI, let me tell you an example. At the time that in the 30 years back when I was working on my research, my machine is only 64K byte memory, okay? So then you can imagine the size of memory that you have, and not to mention about the kind of shared memory that you can have using cloud computing, okay? So because of all these supporting technology, artificial intelligence has become a reality. So what are the technologies? What are the enabling technologies? These are the technologies that we talk a lot in daily lives, including big data, okay, machine learning, cloud computing, and fifth generation communications. So these technologies take different roles in enabling artificial intelligence. Firstly, artificial intelligence today, we use a lot of empirical method or statistical method. We think that we'll be able to look at a large amount of examples, large volume of examples, and from the examples we can learn past experience, and that will make our model or the final system more efficient and more effective, more precise. Therefore, the first thing we need to do is that we need to have big data. But with the big data itself is not enough. We still have to need machine learning, how to analyze this data. Okay, so the first one is the data part. The second one is the algorithm part, is the execution part. We can execute, we have the data, but do we have the machine to do that? So the cloud computing part gives the solution. So today we have a lot of supercomputers centralized in cloud computing centers, and therefore even as an individual or a small company, and you may not have your own machine, you can rely on this centralized cloud computing facilities, and they can give you the computational power for your AI work. But once we do that, we still need to be able to distribute our results to different places, okay? And that's where the fast communication part, the fifth generation communication, 5G comes in. Because of the interest of time, for this particular talk, we will only cover the big data and the machine learning part. And I will leave the cloud computing and the 5G part for the next lecture, if there were one. Okay, so what exactly is big data? The big data part actually started off 10 or 20 years ago. It all started off from the engineering side. We talk about from the engineering field, we use three V's to describe that, which is the first three V's: volume, variety, and velocity. We'll go over that later. But these are technical issues that we think that we have to find out the right technology to solve those problems created by those three V's. But when the business people come in, they thought that, well, you solve the technical problems. What is it for? How can you help? What kind of value can we get out of it? Therefore, the business people or the application people start to look at another two V's. And the first V is the value. Whatever you do in computation, there must be some gain in value. Otherwise, there's no point. You solve a very technical problems, and so what? And if you cannot create value of it. And therefore, the value part comes in. But when they started to look at the value part, it turns out that value can be positive and negative. Okay, can be true or false, or can be true or fake. So therefore, okay, the integrity or the veracity of the value comes in it. So therefore, in our research now in big data or in artificial intelligence, not only that we look at technology to solve the first three V's problem, we also are looking at ways and algorithms to obtain the highest value out of my technology, as well as to minimize the veracity using those technologies. In terms of volume, this is in January 2021. These are some statistics about the social media world. You can see that we have 7.83 billion, which is the total populations, and then about 56% of this population can actually use social media, accessing to social media, and all of that, many of them are actually using mobile, okay. And then for internet users, it's actually 60%, roughly 60%, and the active social media users is about 4.2 billion, which is 43.6%. I am one of them. I think you probably is one of them as well. Okay, and in terms of so because of the different medias and the number of people that are using the media, one can already imagine how much data, the volume, the amount of data that actually goes through every day, every minute. Okay, so take for example, tweets is an example. So you can see that on the bottom field, this is the whole thing flashing. Actually, this is the per second. Okay. So the number of tweets are sent. So for 1 second, it is estimated to be about 10,000 tweets going in and out. From this example here, it's already reflected three things. Just using tweet as an example, which is very familiar to you. Firstly, there are large volume, as you see the number in here for every second. And the second thing is that it is frequent. You can see on the right-hand side of the thing is always flashing on the tweets. So you can see that, and as you all know, in our tweet, when we send a tweet, we do not only send text, we send images, we send pictures. So you can see the variety of the thing. Okay, so by this example, I already covered firstly the volume, secondly the speed, because in every second there are a lot of messages sending, and thirdly I also mentioned about the message that you sent are not text alone, but with images, with sounds, with videos, everything are there. So I explained about the variety part just using tweet as an example. But I want to say a little bit more about some conventional thinking about these different types of data or different types of information. People may say that that's not new. We have that sort of information in the old days. Didn't we talk about multimedia or multimedia database? That's exactly what it is now. Well, in the AI world today, we are not talking about just independent data, separate data. We are talking about the integration of multimedia data. So take, for example, if I see a picture of a person, 6'1", coming into the Chinese university, and then there is a voice message saying that a car with my registration number just drive in. So there is an information from speech, and there's another information from image. By combining the two information, one can conclude that there is a person, and this is me, who come into the Chinese University of Hong Kong, because my height and my car will lead to that information. So in here, if we were to analyze information separately, this different stream of information separately, we are talking about multimedia data analysis. But what we really want to achieve in AI or in big data analysis, that is, we want to have all this information integrated and come to a conclusion at some point. But imagine that all this information are changing separately in different times, and how you can integrate this information together become a real challenge in the big data analysis field or in the AI field. Okay. Okay, this is a form of data variety. Speech is one of them. Okay. Well, speech tags are something that you are more familiar with. This is something that we use all the time, but maybe as a layman, you may not think about the usefulness of this information. But as a computer scientist, we use that a lot as your relationship with different people. Okay, well, think about the Facebook, think about your Twitter, think about your Instagram, the person that you talk to, the person that you like. In fact, from the person that you like, you actually create some kind of relationship graph. And these relationship graph is actually very useful to you. I will talk about that, but in fact, while we are here, in fact, it has already bring out one security issue in here. Well, I like a lot of people. I formed this like graph. Well, should that be open? Should someone know about whom I like? If this graph is accessible by external parties, isn't that some kind of a breach of privacy? Okay, that actually happens. Okay, so this is yet another example of information security. Another type of another type of data variety is what we call cyber footprints. Okay, in fact, this is which websites or which social media, which company you have access online. Okay, you as a company, this is a very useful information because you've been keep on going to this particular place, for example, like a restaurant, and it's a Chinese restaurant. So therefore, someone will actually recommend Chinese food to you. So with knowing your footprint, I can actually make a personalized recommendation based on that. So therefore, from a commercial point of view, it seems to be a good thing. But again, that's opened up another can of worm. What about privacy? Well, I have been to a bar. I've been to a nightclub. I don't want to let people know, but you know about that. Okay, so if this information is open up. In fact, in Hong Kong, there was an example. There was an argument about this road tax. You know, they was trying to think about attaching a device onto cars, and then based on your mileage and based on where you access, then they will tax you. They were talking something about that, and one of the counter arguments about that was, well, if you do that, then I'll be able to know where you have been, you know, in the middle of the night. Okay. And then the guy, well, just for fun, okay, the guy said that I surely don't want to have want to tell my wife where I was, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, so this yet another example of data privacy, which is a form of information security breach. In terms of value, I mentioned that quickly already. That well, whatever we do, we may solve the 3 technical problems incurred by volume, velocity, and variety. But solving technical problems does not imply creating value. So from a business point of view, we want to create value out of AI. Okay, and therefore the value element comes into the 5 V's. And out of this value, there are positive value and negative value. And some of the information that we collect may be misinformation or disinformation. They are very close terms. Misinformation is about creating data or sending data, and this data maybe done actually without intention. Okay, without intention. Okay, an example for that is sharing a rumor that a celebrity died before finding out whether this is false or not. So this is not deliberate. This is just a rumor. Maybe I just it's a hearsay, and I just follow somebody and then just send out that news unintentionally. Whilst on the other hand, in this information, these are false information, but these are sent deliberately. And this information part is the most fatal part, and this is happen quite often as well in today's world. Take for example, fake news. Okay, the fake news part. The fake news is a very good example of disinformation. These are two common examples. The first one is the election between Hillary Clinton and Trump. Okay, as you recall, at 2006 election, in fact, most people think that Hillary would win the election. Okay, but there was a case, and the case was about Cambridge Analytica. Okay, which get a lot of information from Facebook, and and then sent a lot of fake information to Hillary supporters, saying that Hillary was doing something bad, and also at the same time praise Trump. And at the end, Trump won. Okay, and there was a lot of fake news information, fake news or disinformation floating around. And a more recent example was the recent election. And after Trump just won, and then there was some fake news sending out saying that he had the chance to come back again, and said that the election was unfair, and then urged Trump's supporter to go on the streets in America to go on riots. And if I'm not wrong, there were something like 4 or 5 people, innocent people, got killed as well. And these are all disinformation. These are all fake news. Well, what is the problem of fake news? I think fake news. The first problem is due to again the internet. The born of the internet does actually cause a lot of convenience for us in getting information, creating information, and sharing information. That is for sure. And in fact, the journalism or journalists take good advantage of that. Because of that online channel, journalists can actually push information out much faster than it used to be back about 10 or 20 years ago. Remember that in 20 or 20 years ago, when we were still reading, paper form newspaper, the editorial cycle is about a day or maybe half a day. So the cycle went like this. So the reporters went out to take the news, draft the piece, the writing piece, and then would submitted it to the chief editor, and the chief editor would proofread the thing, do all the fact checking and everything, approved before it actually got published. If it were not right, or if it were not, if it contained some misinformation or disinformation, it would be stopped by a professional, and that professional is the chief editor. And today, because of the urge of timeliness in the publishing industry, or especially in the news industry, all the news agencies want their news to be pushed out immediately. So for that reason, you can see that many reporters, they collect their news information, they drafted the thing, okay, without going serious scrutiny, the information get pushed out. Okay, so it seems that the professional editorial part is missed out or lack, or is less used. And then when you think about that process, who become the editors now? The editors are the laymen. We are the editors ourselves. The information came out, and then the message is, you are the one to judge. Whether this is good news, bad news, is you to judge. Whether this is real news or fake news, you are the one to judge. So it becomes what we call decentralized editorship, and require your own self-interpretation. Okay, and that's just what's happening now in the real world at current time. Okay, other problems include because of that easy channel over the internet, over the social media, privacy become a problem. I have already pointed out 2 examples when we were talking about the footprint. When I was talking about the like networks, okay, these are all vulnerable platforms or vulnerable channels that we can leak out our private information. And also the second thing is intellectual property rights. Our inventions, our copyrights, the thing that we wrote, okay, can also be, because of the sharing capability of our internet, of our social media, therefore it is so easy for one to actually get some inventions on the internet. Okay, in fact, because of that, it somehow backfire from a scientist's point of view, from my point of view. Well, today when we talk about research, we talk a lot about open innovation. When we said innovation is that I have an idea and you have an idea, why don't we share? And then we can, by sharing it, then probably we can advance science even further. Theoretically, it should be like that. Because of the internet or because of the social media, there is a risk on intellectual property leakage. For that reason, there are many people do not believe in open innovation anymore. They will just keep their IP, keep their thinking in their own houses rather than open it up. So this is one of my comments sometimes when we talk about information security. Yes, it creates an information security related to IP right leakage, but because of that, then you probably would upset the open innovation paradigm. So I think this is the issue worth debating a little bit more. But in any case, in this particular context, we are referring to information security, and it is for sure that social media, internet, are easy access channel where people can actually get access to other people's intellectual property right without their consents. And not to mention about disinformation. When we come up with this information, and some of this information are creating hate speech, racism speech, sexist speech. In school, you heard a lot about over the internet, we are doing bullying. Okay, just because you are not in my group, and therefore I started to bully you. Okay, so all these things happen, and depends on the level it took place. If it were at the national level, it can be catastrophic. It could actually ruin the city or ruin the country. Okay. So getting back to the problem, the other side of the 5 V's will actually create either misinformation or disinformation. For example, if the data that you collected is too small, then it would create problems because you are not comprehensive enough in the analysis. We'll look at this problem by using another example later. And velocity, it refers to speed. So if some of the thing is actually happen very frequently, and if you are not sampling at the right time or slowly, then you would be in big trouble. You would not be able to collect the whole picture of that incident or of that matter. And can variety of bias is a form of variety. I remember that we talk about in variety that we're referring to integration of multiple data or multiform data or multimedia data. So what happened that you are only referring to text without actually referring to the pictures or the other way around. Okay, this happened a lot today because, for example, like today we like to look at YouTube. So perhaps some of the people will look at only KOLs and just believe in what the KOL said, okay, without actually going to deeper to scrutinize, to do fact checks over the formal news. In terms of value, because the value of the thing, we have opinion problem, we have privacy problem, we have contradiction problem, because people say different thing. And variety, we have misinformation and disinformation. And mostly this misinformation and disinformation actually come from people with different stance. Okay, they may not, having different stance, sometimes it can be deliberate or not deliberate. If it were deliberate, then it would be fake news and disinformation. If it is non-deliberate, then it will be just a kind of non-facts, misinformation. So, but how can we determine the stance of someone or stance of an organization? That also becomes a challenging research problem for us. Okay, we'll talk about then I talk about machine learning, which also refers to the problems that we mentioned earlier with the big data. We have the data. Okay, when we have the data, then these are common problems involving what we call the blind data and the elephants. Okay, so in the blind data and elephant, that could happen. Two things can happen. So because people have different expertise, then even with the same piece of information, with the same elephant, okay, then they would come to different conclusions. Which conclusion is right? Okay, so that would also happen. But the most serious problem is that your mindset is not open enough to listen to all experts and do the consolidation, and you prefer to look at only one, to listen to only one. If that is the case, then your views or your conclusion will be very biased. And also, that problem also comes with the problem of insufficient data or small data. Okay, or small data. Okay, so then if you have small data, then I don't know how I don't know how you say it in English, but then you will come to the problem of 以偏概全, So you are not covering everything. You're not comprehensive enough if you do not have enough data. So another problem with the blind man and the elephant is that perhaps you are overgeneralized. When the overgeneralized situation comes in because in your data you have only one type of data. Okay, and in this case, you only have data for elephants, and in fact, you do not have any data about horse. So, and if people come in and ask you about horse, okay, you said there's no such thing as horse. But that's not true. Horse does exist, just because that you do not, in your very small, closed world, you only have elephants, and therefore you have no knowledge of horses at all. And if you do not have any knowledge about horses, and you conclude that horse does not exist, that's absolutely wrong. Okay. The other problem is what we call garbage in, garbage out. In fact, garbage in, garbage out is the computer science 101. When we do computer science, this is the first thing that we learn. No matter how fast, how powerful your algorithm is, if your data is wrong, then you would be completely wrong. Okay? So a good example in here, which there's a paper called the Parable of Google Flu. And in fact, in that particular paper, there was an experiment, and the scientists at that time think that, okay, if we sample the keywords that were posted on Google search, and we sample it for a long period, okay, particularly looking at the word flu or flu-related things, then I would be able to understand the distribution of the flu virus over in the United States. But it turned out that the results was completely wrong. Well, not 3 times overshot. And the reason because not all patients, when people mention flus in a keyword search, it may not be just the patients and the doctors. It could be the journalists, someone who are interested to study something about it. So therefore, their assumption of whoever posted the word flu, okay, must be the one who are carrying the flu or trying to diagnose the flu. And therefore, by seeing their search, you will see the movements of the flu. So their algorithm is completely wrong. Okay? So therefore, this is yet another example of what kind of mistakes that you can make if your machine learning algorithm is wrong. Okay, and another problem is explainability. Because the learning algorithm that we do basically is a black box, especially in the current paradigm in AI, we use a lot of what we call the deep learning training. Okay, perhaps it's not the right time to explain what this is, but you can see that this is what we call a black box. What does it mean is that you give it an input, and then it will tell you a conclusion. But why? How come you make that decision? Okay, if you ask a doctor, the doctor will be able to explain to you, okay, why do you have a flu? Because you have a fever, because you have stomach ache or something, and it would affect your it would affect your blood circulation or whatever. Okay, so that will be. In fact, our doctors do that all the time. When you go in to see the doctor will try to explain to you what is happening to you. Why is he diagnosing you in that way? What kind of symptoms do you have? But sorry, not deep learning. The deep learning is just a black box and will be able to tell you that. Without knowing the explanation, if you were the one who got the conclusion and then directly make a judgment, so what if this conclusion that made by the deep learning algorithm or the black box was wrong or was only partially right? Okay, and you try to carry over for another task without any modification. Okay, then that would cause some problem. So therefore, with not being able to explain is yet another problem in machine learning now. So in fact, when we look at this is very, very similar to something that we have learned in Chinese from Confucius. 學而不思則剛，思而不學則殆. To learn without thinking is confusing, but to think without learning is dangerous. So that means that, okay, when we are learning the machine now, I'm talking about the black box, deep learning algorithm. If the deep learning algorithm is the objective is to learn, but when it learns, it doesn't think, it just mechanically learns, then it can be confusing. Okay, it can be confusing. So this is to do with the explanation part. Okay, with all these problems here, so what are the trends in handling disinformation and misinformation or information security? We in the Chinese university, we are working on rumor detection, for example. But when we work on the rumor detection part, we split it into two parts. One is what we call the objectivity or impartiality. So something focus on misinformation, something we can do what we call fact checking. Okay, when we say fact checking, for example, like the Olympic, there's a talk on big data on the August 8th by Professor Wong. Okay, if somebody come in and said that happened tomorrow, that would happen tomorrow, then by fact checking you can see that this is wrong. Okay, that is a fact. Okay, but at the same time, we look at this problem, what we call subjectivity, i.e. opinion. Okay, if somebody say that this thing is bad, okay, or this thing is biased, okay, somebody make a comment like that, okay, and is that true? Or perhaps someone say something like the newspaper 100 years ago said this is wrong, okay, so but because it's a citation or quoting someone, okay, not unless you really do the fact check part to find out whether this is true, but if this is an opinion that is made by someone 100 years ago, then, well, situations are very different today and 100 years back. So if it were opinion, then you will have to it will be harder, very difficult to actually analyze the information. And we also talk about, in research, we talk about federated learning or distributed data. So sometimes the data, we don't own the data ourselves. Some of the data are owned by other people. Okay, if we were to centralize everything and do the analysis, well, would the other corporation willing to give you the data? Okay, because of security reason, perhaps it may not want to do that. So one of the solutions is that why don't you do the analysis yourself over in your sites and share with me the results? So in that case, I'm not accessing your own data. I'm only accessing your results. Okay, so that will keep the privacy, sort of seal in each other's places. And there is also some research in what we call handling small data or insufficient data. Okay, the way that to do it is that there are big companies called OpenAI, which is actually established by Elon Musk. There's also Google. These are big companies, and they said that when we do AI, when we do training, okay, we don't want to retrain for all cases. I want to make a general model. Okay, in this case, we're talking about languages. Okay, in language application, we have application of Q&A, question and answer. We also have application of dictation. We also have application on information analysis. There are many types of applications, but previously, what we do is that for each application, we have to do the training every time, for each application. But then these big shots, OpenAI and Google comes in and said that, why don't I create a general model? Okay, so this is what we call the pre-trained general language model, including a model called BERT and a model called GPT-3, which is a pre-trained language model. And based on this model, because this general model is so generic that sometimes when you bring it back down to real application, it is not very useful. And therefore, what we have been doing is to do customization. So what we need is a small set of data related to this specific application and use that and use the general model and customize it. So this is the work that we are working on as well. And this is related, the third and the fourth bullet are related because insufficient data included in the we need to have a small data set, which is application specific to help me to do the analysis. And we try to solve the explainability problem, which is the XAI research. Okay, that's what we are doing in our lab or in Chinese University. Okay. Okay, so I think especially from the first slide when I mentioned about the different cases in security, national security, and I urge that people not to just think about military security. In fact, all the securities that I mentioned, they are intermixed, they are intertwined with each other. Okay, so as the presidency said recently, security is actually a prerequisite for development, and development is the protection for security. What does that mean? Think about it. Think about in Afghanistan, because it is so insecure, would you put your investment in Afghanistan? Okay, so this is exactly what happened now. Security must be the prerequisites before you can only do the development. And the other one is that if your country, like the United States or in China or in United Kingdom, where the economy is well developed, therefore you have to protect the security of home of every homes and every citizens, okay, and to prevent any wars or riots happen. If the riots and war happen in that place again, it will back to the square one again. It will actually hinders further development. So with that, I say thank you to everyone to listen to me. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Wong, for your very enlightening lecture on big data analytics. Please take your seat. So now it comes to the Q&A section. Actually, our time is running out, but as Professor Wong has kindly agreed to take a few questions from the audience, maybe we'll take just 2 questions. So all the participants in the audience, if you have any question to ask, please grab this opportunity to submit your questions through the Q&A box in Zoom. I'm sure some people are concerned about data privacy and data security and the infringement of their privacy. So what kind of preventive measures can be taken, or would you suggest for users and service provider to protect the privacy and security?
I think as a layman, the easiest way, I think we listen to that very often in news, in radios anyway. Do protection by changing your passwords. Have a secure password and then change it once so often. And for secure information, you may try to encrypt them before storage. I have to mention that in fact in Hong Kong we have we have a privacy bureau. I forgot the name of it, but we have a set of privacy law, data privacy law, private privacy ordinance. I think if we were to do business, then we should actually follow that strictly. Okay, that's for the commercial people. But as I mentioned, for laymen, for individuals, I think protect your own data. Firstly, by protecting your own accounts using passwords, and change your passwords once so often. And the second thing is that for some highly private data, then you perhaps would consider encrypting them before storage.
Mm-hmm. How about some companies or corporates. You have also mentioned some ransomware, which might threaten, well, the provision of public utility and even national security. So what could be done to, well, protect our organizations or facilities from ransomware?
Well, if you're hit, if you're attacked, it would be hard to solve. It will be hard to handle. So you may ended up, paying the ransom. But to prevent that, actually, prevention is better than cure always. So what you have to do is to be careful of your daily operation, not just your own, but as a company, you probably would have to have what we call SOP, standard operation procedures for your colleagues, okay, and make sure that they follow the procedures and avoid opening up your accounts to the outside world.
Mm-hmm. And then one more question here is about the future of artificial intelligence studies and learning. You have mentioned that AI is the trend nowadays and being studied by many scientists around the world. But at the same time, there are also problems of machine learning. For the students who are currently conducting research in this area, what would be your advice for them? What should they do or not do to enhance their research in this area?
Oh, they should do it. Interesting areas. Interesting areas. If there were no problems, there would be no research. So these are great problems. So I do a lot of work in rumor detection. Very interesting problems. If they were not challenges, we would not pick them up. These are good topics. They are. Yeah. But I must mention that today. We are actually engaged in open innovation, as I mentioned, and I prefer that as well. And also that we are doing a lot of work on data research, data analytic. For those two cases, the students would have to go out to access other people's work or other people's data. And I remind all students to honor copyrights and intellectual property rights. Okay, sometimes because the students themselves, they just started their research career, they would undermine these sort of operation or this sort of operation. But it is important, especially when these researchers, when they become professors themselves, when they want to engage in the technical world, and they should honor that. Okay, otherwise they would cost themselves into trouble.
Mm-hmm. On intellectual copyright, I'm sure this is not only for students, but also for everyone
yes.
who is using the internet. All right, so thank you very much to Professor Wong for sharing your insights on the latest development of big data analytics. And this concludes today's lecture. Once again, thank you all for joining us and wish you a very good day ahead.
Thank you.
Goodbye.